freedom-loving people.
So let's go racing in South Florida again. 5 laps complete. First rain and then lightning at Homestead-Miami Speedway, but now blue sky, but for the south-southwest. So the track is dry. We don't yet have cameramen up on the roof, again due to recent lightning strikes, but we'll work our way through that. Ricky Stenhouse, Jimmie Johnson, anxious to get back at it.
And, track's dry, but also the track, all that rubber, that came from, we thought that the rubber was washed off after the Xfinity race from a light rain share, but this was a little heavier, certainly down in turns 3 and 4, so it certainly washed that rubber away. And now we start with another green racetrack before we get to the competition caution. So we'll see some fast speeds again. A lot of maneuvering, 2, 3, 4 wide maybe even on this start. And then we're going to see tremendous fall off, Mike, in the grip as the grip really goes away with these Goodyear tires, which is the way they're designed. And that's what I love about this track, is the way that it wears these tires out and builds the temperatures and the pressures in those tires, and the grip and balance goes away quickly.
There, you saw the suitcase rolling away from Martin Truex's car as they give the indication to crank the engines. So several drivers now picked up on what Jimmie Johnson is doing by keeping his own inventory of driver gear and personal safety equipment with him from the motor coach to the car. There's that dark sky off turn number 1.
So Jimmy, look at his watch. He runs a heart rate monitor that he monitors every weekend. And I saw a comment that Jimmy made on social media this week, maybe going back and forth with Chase Elliott, about his heart rate from Martinsville. And his peak heart rate's around in the mid 170s, maybe high 170s, which is low for some people. But he said that he was pretty much at his max at some portions of the race, but he averaged almost 150 beats per minute during that race at Martinsville. And, that goes to show you just how hard these drivers are working in the cars, especially when it's hot.
As soon as the officials indicate that all engines have fired, they'll roll off.
Sometimes you'll see, like we see Brendan Poole just rocking that car back and forth. A lot of times that's just to index the wheel, because these cars, the front geometry and suspension wants to pull left. Since you're racing on a track that's left-hand turns only, the front tires with the camber, caster, and toe just naturally wants to pull to the left. So you have to center that steering wheel and the steering column to make sure it's where you want it to be when you take off.
Now that they have shut the cars off due to another lightning strike. Now you see the steering wheel on Kyle Busch's car. There is a white mark that indicates straight ahead. So in case he bumps into something, he knows that the steering has gone off. But see that yellow mark to the right of the white mark? That has to be straight up and down when front tires are being changed. So,
yeah, the clearance on these front tires and fenders to get the tires off during a pit stop, to be as precise as these pit crews want to be and be very fast. Sometimes you'll have to turn that wheel a little bit one way or the other, depending on if they're doing the right sides or left sides. That just lines up the tires in the fender wells perfectly straight and allows those tires to come off a little bit faster and go on a little faster.
These are all quick release steering wheels, so that the driver is a bright metal collar right behind the hub, right there. He pulls on that, and that wheel is off, and he's able to exit.
To me, this is the part that gets so disappointing. You kind of relax, you go take a breath, take a break, and then you're ready to get back in it. Your mind starts getting geared up to what you're going to need to do behind the wheel of that car, start the car up, and get yourself ready for that restart. And then all of a sudden, boom, you get another lightning strike like this, and it's just so frustrating. You got to hop out of the car. Now, this is Tyler Reddick, and he's actually marking his steering wheel. That's something that, because they don't have practice, they haven't had a chance to do. So you'll actually index that wheel on a mark on that steering column, on that spline, so you make sure that the steering wheel is in their proper place when you go back. That way you don't have to rock the car back and forth.
Disconnecting the cool air tube from the top of the helmet.
That I've had a lot of fans ask over these years, is it like air conditioning? Because these guys have air conditioning. Trust me, folks, it is not like air conditioning. It might take the outside air and cool it about 8 to 10 degrees. And when you're under high amps with a lot of fans and things inside the car and everything gets hot, I don't even know if it's working that well. But you'll take it. If it's 2 degrees cooler air being blown inside that helmet, then you're going to take it. Also, it kind of is filtered, so it usually helps keep some fresh air inside that helmet.
So car is going to be covered up just as a precaution. It has not rained in about the last hour here, but a nearby lightning strike has, again, put a hold to things. Now, you talk about amperage draw, and how about the Stewart-Haas cars that Wednesday night at Martinsville Speedway had trouble with the alternators, and the batteries were not staying charged due to the draw of all the fans, the blowers, and everything. I read that Kevin Harvick shut everything off. The fan to his driver cooling, the brake cooling fans, absolutely everything was shut down, and he was able to finish that race on the battery. Eric Almirola had to come in and get one changed.
Yeah, I mean, on those shorter tracks especially, it's a lot of demand because of the brake system. You want to keep things cool. It's hot, so you want to keep the driver as cool and fresh as possible. But when you have an issue with the alternator that can't keep the battery charging, and you have to start shutting those things down, easy for a guy on the box to say, okay, start shutting these systems down. I had to do that one time, Mike, at New Hampshire, and it wasn't really even that hot at that track. And it's not as demanding of a track as Martinsville or as Bristol. But what happened as I was sweating more because I wasn't getting the fresh air and cooling myself as much, I started cramping inside the car. I started having all kinds of issues where I couldn't push the clutch in when I was coming into a pit stop. Even when I was trying to go back to the throttle to launch out of the pit stall, I started cramping up in my calves. So, you got to work really hard to stay physically fit enough to handle some of those situations as well as stay hydrated, because you're going to just sweat so much more. So the amount of fluid you're taking in normally, you have to take in a lot more when you have to shut all those things down. These guys, they can handle that heat, but it's just measuring the fluid loss that you have to replace.
Wow. So we are under the red flag for lightning in the Dixie Vodka 400 at Homestead-Miami Speedway. 5 laps have been completed. We're going to step away, and you're going to enjoy
normally, you have to take in a lot more when you have to shut all those things down. These guys,